Christmas arrives on an island still reeling from devastating floods, a season shadowed by loss, but yet lit by quiet acts of courage and compassion. At a time when rebuilding feels more urgent than celebration, Christmas invites us to pause, reflect, and rediscover what truly matters. Kaleidoscope Dialogues leans into that deeper meaning. Abby Schaffter joined us earlier this week to rethink tradition, renew relevance, and explore how the spirit of Christmas speaks to a country healing once again. It's a nation coping with loss, with tragedy, and we are rebuilding from tragedy. What does the core meaning of Christmas offer us today?
It is hope because Christmas reminds us that God stepped into our brokenness, into our chaos, into our darkness. And Jesus came to a world that was full of oppression, very similar to what we are going through, calamity. And because He came, we can cling to that hope. And I believe it's a hope that will help us to rebuild our lives, to rebuild our hearts, and to rebuild our communities. And that is what we can cling to at this time.
So, how does the commercialization of Christmas sit with a country where so many people are struggling right now?
When you look at the sales, the people going out to consume, the gifts, the glitter, the glamour, it doesn't sit right at a time like this. But in a sense, it kind of brings us back to what is important about Christmas. It brings us back to keep it Christ-centered. And I think if we do that, then we cannot allow commercialization to dilute the true meaning of Christmas, because Jesus came not to consume but to show compassion. And sometimes I feel in these years we've just lost sight of that. We've lost sight of the meaning of Christmas.
So, you work quite a bit with young people. Do younger generations approach Christmas differently, especially in times of crisis?
I've seen an amazing response from young people in this crisis. I work very closely with my church. We've been on relief from day one. And it's so heartwarming to see our young people, even really small kids, coming together, wanting to contribute meaningfully. And I believe young people today they are very passionate about justice. They are very passionate about social equality. So when there's something like this, when there's calamity, I've seen solidarity, and that is really heartwarming.
How do you see them expressing the meaning of Christmas, expressing solidarity in these times?
I've seen them just go out there, just wanting to contribute. So even a couple of weeks ago, they just wanted to do something. So they went IDH, Angoda, those areas were hit really badly within Colombo. They went and cleaned up people's houses. They hired power horses. So there is purpose. There is this sense of wanting to do something, build with their own hands and contribute meaningfully. And that's what I've seen the young people in this generation do.
Do Christmas traditions help strengthen community bonds, or do they risk highlighting divides?
There's a bit of both, because if you look at a house that is decorated for Christmas with a Christmas tree, the glitter, the glamour, and then in contrast, you go into a house that is like a paddy field because Bitwa has hit and they've lost everything. And when you see the two, there can be this great divide. But I believe it gives us a chance to cross those divides. And I've seen many people cancel parties, cancel Christmas events, and those funds being directed towards the flood victims. I've seen people just, giving of their time, giving of their resources. So I believe those acts of kindness build bridges. And if we keep that kindness, that compassion as the heart of Christmas, if we make that part of our traditions, praying together as a family, praying for the victims, doing things that can make a difference, even including flood victims in your celebrations can make a difference.
So here's the conundrum. There's many who actually depend on Christmas festivities and celebrations to fund their incomes, right? Buying children's school books, etc., because that's where they get their work. If these events are cancelled, they lose money, they lose their income. Small people, right? How do we balance that out?
It's a tough ask, but I think we need to be sensitive to those who have lost everything. You know, I've seen firsthand. One lady told me that within an hour the water came in. They lost everything, including, like, you know, it was a beautifully furnished house with sofa set, grand piano, TVs, the full works. And in a moment everything is lost. So while Christmas can be an opportunity for, you know, business young entrepreneurs to do their thing, I think we need to do it in a sensitive manner so that no one feels like they are not seen, they are not heard, and life goes on for others.
We are a multicultural society, multi-religious society, and everyone gets into the spirit of Christmas. But I would say 70% is commercialized Christmas, but they all get into it. When there's collective grief shared across communities, what makes this time more meaningful?
I think crisis doesn't cancel out Christmas. I think crisis makes Christmas even more precious because it reminds us that God came into this world and He is Emmanuel, He is with us. So when we keep that in mind, we can bridge the divides. And a lot of people see Jesus, His love, His compassion. So they may not be Christian, but they know the life He lived. And I think that's important. So over the years, like you say, Christmas has become, everybody is celebrating it. But we need to remember, why are we celebrating Christmas? And try to remember that and keep that as the heart of our celebrations.
Do you feel that Christmas actually encourages generosity and empathy in this multi-religious, multicultural country of ours?
Well, I've seen amazing acts of generosity. I think this calamity has brought people together. The solidarity I see out there is amazing. But for anything to last beyond the season or beyond the calamity, I think it needs to get rooted in something. So if we anchor our acts of kindness, our compassion on our faith, I think it then becomes a lifestyle. It's not something you do, it's who you are. So generosity comes naturally. And when you model your life on Jesus, you see His radical living, His radical giving, His radical compassion. And if we can emulate that, I think it will last beyond the season.
So whether it was a pandemic, wars, tsunami, economic crisis, Sri Lankans have repeatedly had reminders of what truly matters. How have these experiences reshaped our understanding of Christmas, do you think?
I think all these challenges, the tsunami, even Ditwa, has shown us very clearly that life can change in a moment. You know, it's temporary. We need to cling to something deeper than our possessions, what we own, and it's only then we can find meaning. And what I have seen is a resilient people, a people, you know, even the war we've been through like 30 years, and I think all those things have taught us that community is important. So in this calamity, I have seen people go beyond, you know, helping friends. It's not just helping neighbors, but strangers are helping strangers. And I think that embodies what true Christmas and what the season is really about.
So as we rebuild physically and emotionally, can you redefine Christmas for the next generation?
We need to redefine Christmas by keeping Christ in the center of Christmas, because sometimes I feel the world has forgotten Christ in Christmas. It's become all about, you know, the trappings of Christmas, the frills, the parties, the sales, the gift giving, Santa Claus, you name it. Christ just kind of got parked in the background. But we need to remember that Christ came because God so loved the world. That's why He gave His only Son. And He sent His Son not to condemn the world, but that the world will be saved. And we need to keep that as the heart of Christmas and pass that on to the next generation. And I believe if the next generation keep Christ in the center, then everything finds meaning. And if we are anchored in that, then Christmas will live on, and the Christ of Christmas will be the one we revere at this time, remembering his love, because the angel said peace on earth, goodwill to all men, so nobody is excluded, right? And this is a great opportunity to come together, to rebuild lives, to help one another beyond borders, beyond religion, beyond language. And I think Christ unifies us in that.
When crises like this happen, where humanity, there's deaths, there's disappeared, there's loss of life, limb, everything, people turn around and say, if there was a God, why do these things happen?
Jesus himself said, in this world you will find suffering, but take heart because I have overcome the world. So the world here is temporary. That's what I said. There is suffering, there is pain, there is calamity, there is acts of nature. But there is a God who longs for humanity to be saved, and we need to keep our eyes on that eternal picture. So at Christmas we remember his first coming, but we cannot forget that he's coming again. And that is what is important, to keep your eyes not just on this moment, because there's so much more available for us, and we need to catch a hold of that.
Catch all things Kaleidoscope. Watch, follow and stay updated on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Silingo Life.